Yes, we had to retreat from that hellish place, the old city. I don't think I've done that before, but I had to make the call, simply because we would have been destroyed. They were far tougher than any group that we could handle. Again, we are just really starting out, and getting used to how a group is meant to work together, especially when I'm struggling to remember my past life, at least when it comes how to fight. I seem to be forced to make new memories, because there are so many little gaps in my old ones. If I must remember how to do it all over again, then so be it. This is a mission that cannot fail, or so it would seem. My little discourse with Wudica has shown me that, win or lose, the gods are watching and judging. If we fail, then they will take direct action on Aora to set things right as they would have it. But if we win, then, well, I suppose at best we will get is less godly interference. And I suppose that is much better. These gods cannot seem to agree on much though, and groups of them have formed. Does that mean that they will end up fighting each other? Maybe. I doubt no matter what it is that Aothis is up to, that not all the gods will want it. Well then, I will just have to see what he really is up to and whether or not I agree with it. If I agree, then I can only guess that I will try and help him. If not, well then, it's up to us to stop him. Okay, with Maya in tow, we have entered
Right.
the Brass Citadel. And apparently she wants to talk to me.
Your orders? I know exactly what you're thinking.
Maya folds her arms and clicks her tongue against the roof of her mouth. What's that?
You're asking yourself, how did I let the Royal Deadfire Company plant an informant in my crew?
She chuckles to herself, but there's a note of resignation to it. Shoti lifts her chin in interest.
My superiors might expect me to report in from time to time, but don't read too much into it. You're not the only big thing happening around here.
Alright.
I'm in this for a lot of information, a little diplomacy, and plenty of target practice.
She opens her palms and shrugs, so she seems to like fighting. At least you're upfront about spying on me.
Better that you hear it from me than someone else, right?
Shoti's eyes narrow, dark lashes fusing.
The company isn't in the business of reassigning officers outside of the mission unless they've got a damn good reason. And you are a damn good reason. Take the compliment.
What if my actions damage the Royal Deadfire Company?
This whole campaign is a risk-benefit analysis. The Navy knows you're a gamble, and they're factoring in all potential losses.
Maya wipes a line of black powder from her cheek.
Rauataian is here to do some good work, since the Huana can't seem to do it themselves. Maybe just try and stay out of our way.
Takehu worries one of his hairs between two fingers. Well, I'm seeking Aothis. I want no part in trading company drama.
Then I look forward to seeing how long it takes before you find yourself in someone's back pocket. Well, guess you ought to meet the bird. Ishi is smarter than he looks, but don't expect him to do any tricks.
She nods towards the colorful bird of prey hopping around my ankles.
Ishi, come.
Maya taps her arms with two fingers and clicks her tongue again.
That's a good-looking bird.
Adair raises one hand and waggles his index finger.
Hey, birdie. Hey, birdie.
Ishija shows no sign of recognition towards Maya or Adair. Ishija simply claws on the ground and investigates some bugs a few graceful hops away. Click my tongue like Maya. Cocking his head, Ishija turns to me with a mixture of curiosity and skepticism. Maya smirks and folds her arms.
Takes practice before he'll listen to you properly, but that's a good start.
Adair nods at Ishija, who bobs his head in response. Adair nods twice, and the large bird replies with two head bobs. Adair begins tilting his head up and down, and Ishija follows it with vigorous full-body bobs. Encouraged, Adair starts bouncing his own body up and down, at which point Ishija stops bouncing and watching Adair with cockeyed curiosity.
Did your friend suffer a head wound?
Maya frowns at Adair.
Before we get into deeper waters, I've got a question.
Maya clears her throat into her fist.
You've got a ship and a title. Being captain means more than just wearing a big hat. A lot of tough calls to be made.
I'm figuring it out as I go, but yes.
A crew can be like family. They can also be like a nest of squalling infants. Let's say your galley cook was fixing to organize the rest of the crew into a mutiny. How would you handle it?
I'd get ahead of the problem and compromise with the crew.
Sort it out as equals. Interesting. Of course, the only right answer is the one that works in a given time and place. I just wanted to hear yours.
What's yours?
Ask me again when I'm wearing the big hat. That'll be a different Maya.
Shoti's eyes gleam with a dark amusement.
But enough about me. Glad to be aboard, Captain.
Maya takes my arm and gives it a good pump. I had some questions.
I've got some answers.
You're one of Kana's siblings, aren't you?
Sure am. And I heard that you two spent some time together. Funny how the gods toss things together.
Kana was one of my followers for a time. Well, 5 years back, before we went separate ways.
He came home acting like the world had kicked his legs out from under him.
Maya sighs. She tosses a scrap of meat from her pouch.
He's a teacher these days. Got a good crop of students under him. But he doesn't get out much.
Sorry to hear that.
You clearly had some sway on his opinions, more than I ever did. Wish you had told Kana to give up on the poetry. He's got no ear for it.
I did my best to help Kana find the meaning he sought.
You kept him alive in any case, while he wandered the lands in search of stories.
Maya huffs, shaking her head.
I do with bullets what Kana did with words. Just in case you were wondering, the comparison ends there.
Maya tips her head and studies me to make sure the point came across. Tell me about your family.
Well, my parents came from the Deadfire. I'm getting a taste of my roots.
Maya exhales and glances away.
After they emigrated to Rauataian, their talents caught the Ranganui's eye. He saw them as this spectacle, this achievement of the old country, I guess. So they were honored guests. Not many Huana rose to distinction in Takoa. We were also curiosities. Even as we broke the same bread and tossed back the same wine, the Ranganui's friends always checked under the table to see if I had a tail. Kana thought it was hilarious.
The Ranganui, the title of the ruler of the Rauataian Empire, derived from Ranga, the Huana term for a chieftain. Island Amo aren't that much different from coastal Amo.
You're telling me. Growing up in the Ranganui's shadow wasn't all bad. We had tutors and advisors at our disposal, and lots of folk from stranger parts than these. I spent my days learning to shoot, while my more academic siblings learned to express themselves. I leave you to judge who spent their time better.
How did you and Ashija first get acquainted?
I won a shooting competition at the Ranganui's estate. This was a few years before enlisting with the Navy. As a reward, he gave me the freedom of the Royal Eyrie and said I could take my pick of the warbirds.
Maya kneels and strokes under Shisha's beak.
Stink Feathers here kicked a rather pretty hawk off my arm so he could have me all to himself. Been inseparable ever since.
Hello, Ashija, who's a good bird. The bird cocks his head, his eyes reflecting a mixture of friendly recognition and murderous calculation.
Uh-oh. That's his I'm hungry and you're wasting my time face. Better step back, Captain.
Okay, let's be off. So, you said somebody was wanting to see us? Serpent Crown would be perfect for a battery of cannons. Yeah, so we're supposed to go in here and meet someone.
Will do.
The cannon looks recently polished.
Green islands and blue skies.
The locals don't know how good they have it.
Probably not. Clear skies. Hello?
All this trouble over a tablet of fucking stone. If my company's standing wasn't on the line, I would have written this one off as a loss already.
Tamara nurses her brow and motions for me to speak. Oh, it's her. Okay, she's the one that wanted the stone. Okay. I'm not gonna give it to them. I'm gonna give it to the Juana. You know, there's the same race. It's just different culture now. Farewell. So we were called to come see the leader.
You must gather your party before venturing forth.
Leader of the Brass... What was it called? The Brass... Citadel. Brass Citadel. Interesting. It looks like it's underwater, under the ocean. The air around the coral thrums with life-sustaining magic. Interesting. I don't know where to go, who to see, or what we're even going to talk about. I don't even really have that much interest in what the Rauataians are doing. But if they wanted me to meet me, then so be it. Harsh lands forge strong people, no? The archipelago is full of pirates. We have to be ready to defend our cargo. Looks like the leader over here.
Sure.
Hazanui Karu paces near her desk, looking like a shark circling the shallows. She clenches a long, elegant pipe between her teeth, the smoke trailing an acrid wake behind her. She looks up when I enter and favors me with a brief nod of acknowledgement.
The former Lord of Cadnua, and one-time Terrifier of Harbor Masters. If dockside tales are to be believed...
She smiles briefly through the smoke.
You have not brought much good news of late.
Her pensive look returns.
So, in addition to pirates, profiteers, and slavers, the Deadfire has a vengeful god roaming its waters?
She bites down harder on her pipe. I need to learn more before we speculate on his motives.
If your report is true, he's stumping port towns into craters. I don't much care why he's doing it. He must be stopped.
She halts, turning to face me. I'm finally able to get a good look at her. She's not especially large for an Amua, but she carries her shoulders high. Her weathered face looks to have been many storm-blown and sun-beaten days on deck. Seen many storm-blown and sun-beaten days on deck, yet her eyes are sharp and keen. That's why I came to you all at the palace. She waves a hand dismissively.
If there were help to be found at the palace, do you think Deadfire would be such a mess?
Yeah, but it lets everybody know what's happening.
The Valians won't lift a finger if it isn't to snatch a coin, and the Huana will barely do that much.
No? Tell it to the water shapers who washed your stranded boats from sandbars, Hazanui.
Takehu folds his arms and waits.
No one takes charge to solve the big problems. But perhaps we could work together to our mutual benefit.
She takes the pipe in her left hand. As she does, I notice that her right is unusually still. What do you mean?
Look around. Deadfire's full of fertile, temperate islands. Except for Andra's mortar. It's largely free of rough weather.
She waves her right hand, and I notice again that her fingers remain strangely still. I realize it's an unusually fine prosthetic. Fake hand.
Yet much of it is uninhabited. Itinerant tribes drift between some of the islands, and smugglers and slavers cluster around the rest.
She shakes her head.
It's a waste. Imagine what this place could be, with well-guarded shipping routes. How many Rauataians we could feed with plantations here.
So you're exploding Deadfire for the sake of Rauatai?
That's a naive view. One our enemies are keen to promote.
She scowls, biting down on her pipe. Takehu seemed to like it, but Maya didn't.
Rauatai's violent storms have shaped and hardened us as much as they have our homeland's rocky terrain. But it remains a difficult place to live. So, we rely on trade, and on plantations we've established here. And those developments also create a more stable, productive Deadfire.
She spreads both hands wide as if that explains it. I don't disagree that this could be made into a nice, very nice place. Get rid of the pirates, get rid of the... What were those things called? The Naga? There's that tribe of Juana that is xenophobic. Get rid of all those, and then it would be a much nicer place. I suppose that that's a worthy venture.
Glad you agree.
She shakes a satisfied puff. Maya cocks her head and listens. Takehu raises his finger to speak up, but slowly lowers it.
If you're chasing the god who's stomping this place into the ground, then we have a common goal.
Good.
And if you're going to survive here, then you could use an ally.
A hint of a smile tugs her lips from her tar-stained teeth. That's true.
The disaster at Hasongo remains a key concern. We rely on the port there to ship food back to Rauatai.
She sucks on her pipe, hiding her worried expression behind a cloud of smoke.
That's on hold until you investigate. Short of that, there are other matters that demand attention. Atsura, our Grand Secretary, has a plan that would make use of your unusual talents.
Your Grand Secretary?
His office is downstairs. He can tell you more.
What's the game board for?
Hazatoa. Atsura and I usually have a game running, and this one's been going on for over a month and a half.
Okay.
Atsura's good at misdirection, but I've got a mind for the long game.
Would seem so.
You look like you've come with a purpose.
What happened to your hand? She extends her arm, holding the prosthetic between me. It's an exquisite piece with reinforced joints in each of the fingers and a smooth, sanded finish.
It happened a year into my first command. We were chasing pirates along Rauatai's south coast, and they landed a shop right next to our magazine. A lucky hit.
She's quiet for a moment.
I ran below. The fire was already spreading and making for our powder stores.
I listen.
I smothered what I could with my uniform, pulled the rest away with my own hands.
If you hadn't, you and your crew would probably have died. She nods.
We don't get to choose our challenges, do we? Just the way we meet them. There's a cost to every victory, and the win goes to those willing to make a sacrifice.
She considers the wooden hand, turning it in the light. I sense satisfaction in her gaze.
I'll bet you already know a thing or two about that. And if you don't, Deadfire will teach you soon enough.
I'm pretty sure I learned that with the destruction of Cad Nua. Anyways, thank you for everything. Farewell. And it seems that we have become more skilled. Been working on my athletics. And my insight as well. Now this I'm gonna have to choose. Actually, I do remember having Mind Lance. It impales the target with the lance of pure force, inflicting major pierce damage to all in the line of attack and interrupting enemy actions. Sounds good enough to me. Greater focus. The cipher, has an increased maximum and starting focus. Alright.
Let's go.
So she said to go see Atsari downstairs?
I've got it.
Hello there. A young woman with a bright, wide smile and eyes to match raises her hand and gives me a quick but enthusiastic wave. Then, with an exaggerated look of embarrassment, she stops herself and crosses her forearms over her chest.
I always forget that part. Say, you're the Watcher of Cadnua, aren't you? I've never met anyone famous before. Except the Hasanui. She yells at me sometimes.
Her grin widens impossibly. You're the quartermaster. Can you sell me something? Her face scrunches up in disappointment.
I really wish I could, but my supplies are for the Royal Deadfire Company and our allies. Hasanui's orders. Maybe if you impress her or Atsura, they could make an exception.
She smiles hopefully. So you're saying the Hasanui yells at you?
Oh, all the time.
She screws her face up into a look of mock seriousness. Still, she can't keep from smiling.
Where's my white leaf? Stop daydreaming. Sabormi, if you lose the ledgers again, I'll have you clean the latrines.
At this last comment, she leans close, her eyes wide and voice low with awe.
All this time, I didn't realize she knew my name.
Are you always this excitable?
It's just, this is my first time away from the rough country.
The rough country. An affectionate Rauataian term for their homeland. Rough refers to both the unyielding, rocky soils and the storms that batter the mainland.
I'd heard there were thick, green forests and sandy beaches without a storm in sight, but I never imagined this.
She shakes her head in wonderment.
You must have traveled lots, seen all sorts of amazing places.
Sabormi folds her hands under her chin, watching me intently. Why does this interest you so much?
I love Rauatai, but it's hard to go a week without seeing storms, or hearing about mudslides burying a village somewhere.
Her buoyant expression sags, but only for a moment. All right, well then, farewell. Down the stairs. And this is not the stairs. The stairs must be down this way. Have to look for someone called Atsura.
They weren't that bad.
This looks like
Rhyming
a kitchen.
Hasanui with kablooey?
I can't think of anything else that goes with Hasanui.
Right.
Me neither. That's why I leave epics to the lore college.
Criticism is easier than creation.
Hello? Every new recruit challenges Pero to... I suppose I should be thankful things aren't busier. So, who's... Oh, my head. Rauataian. This is their prison. Looks like a Rauataian guard they have in there. Maybe he's just recovering. Clear skies, Mearua. Food-stained tally sheets tucked beneath this battlefield model suggest it's been used for recreational purposes. Oh, this might be the quartermaster, where there's guards right outside. The man behind the desk regards me with attentive, unblinking eyes and a perfectly open expression. His smooth features make it hard to pinpoint his age, though the crinkles at the corners of his eyes suggest he is not especially young. He cocks his head, taking my measure. He pauses before speaking, just a little longer than seems normal. When he finally does, he seizes me by the shoulders and wraps me in an abrupt but warm embrace. The gesture is so sudden and over so quickly that when he steps back and resumes his politely professional manner, it's almost as if it never happened.
Watcher Nui, the Lord of Cadnua.
Previous lord. No such thing as Cadnua anymore. He gives me a sleek half-smile that reveals a row of perfect pointed teeth. Yeah, that's what I don't find attractive about the Rauatai. In his careful stare and the pause before he speaks, I recognize that he's studying me.
I'm not one for ostentation, but your remarkable display at Queen's birth suggests that you are an individual with skills, not mere style.
I assume that you're at Sura, correct? Who are you?
I am Atsura, Grand Secretary of the Royal Deadfire Company.
It sounds like a significant title, but he is strangely emotionless. He might as well be describing the color of his clothing. For a trading company, you've got a very commanding presence in Neketaka.
And why not? Thousands of years ago, our people came from the archipelago.
Yeah. This is where you claim to hail from originally.
By one reckoning, we have as much claim on these islands as the Huana.
He shrugs and waves a hand in the manner of someone politely dismissing a compliment.
Does all Rauataian law work this way? Where is that mountain of Azada shells I misplaced thousands of years ago?
Takehu strokes his chin and idly glances around.
But our purpose here is trade.
He gives me that unusually placid smile again.
While our homeland is rich in saltpeter, the violent climate and rocky soils make it a poor source for most other basic staples. It's my business to look after the mainland's interests here.
He spreads his hands wide to include his rather plain, dim office. Oh, well, it's an honor to meet you.
And it's a pleasure to meet someone of your elegant manners.
He dips his head, returning the sentiment.
I wish I had been there to see your grand entrance at the palace, but I avoid Serpent's Crown as much as possible. It is a place of entirely too much talk, and I find that the more talk one hears, the less it means.
He smiles. You don't sound like you're entirely at ease with your neighbors here.
Such is the world we live in. Were it different, all the locksmiths and masons in Aora would be out of work.
He shrugs and spreads his hands as if the logic were self-evident.
And here our neighbors include a nation of pirates and a fractured people led by a figurehead. To say nothing of the Valians. Leave it to them to observe a substance that occurs nowhere else on Aora, and immediately set about pulverizing it for profit.
A ripple of distaste passes over his features. And what would you do with it?
Nothing. We know too little about luminous Adra to understand the consequences of ripping it out.
He pauses and considers me.
Perhaps you can help me keep them from doing more harm.
What do you have in mind?
The demand for luminous Adra has sent the Valian Trading Company into a frenzy. Their expeditions grow too bold, and their officers too greedy.
He puckers his lips, as though a lack of discretion at a dinner party.
Worse, their rapid expansion attracts pirates and threatens the outlying Huana tribes. This risks souring the Kahanga royals against all foreign involvement.
He inclines his head like he's about to let me in on a secret.
But you can curtail their growth.
This isn't about the welfare of the Deadfire. This is about them outpacing you.
By snapping up land we need to grow food and build ships for our people? Indeed. But our interests and Deadfire's are not mutually exclusive.
He interlaces his long, well-manicured fingers.
The Valians have sent an expedition to Pokokahara, a storm-wrecked island believed to house a vein of luminous. I hear you accomplished an incredible feat in restoring the luminous Adra near Port Maje.
He appraises me again with those unblinking eyes.
If your abilities allow you to do that, then perhaps you are also capable of the opposite.
I don't know if I like where that's going. Adra seems to attract and have souls that go into it. I don't want to deaden it from souls.
Find the luminous Adra at Pokokahara. Render it unusable to the Valians. This should encourage them to develop the resources they have, rather than reaching for more.
His eyebrows rise a degree, both a request and an invitation. I thought you were concerned about disturbing Luminous Audra.
Deeply.
He furrows his brow, frowning deeply. Abruptly, his expression clears.
But if a small sacrifice here will discourage the Valians from further ventures, then it is a worthwhile risk.
I don't know. Tell me why I would help you.
Because governors like Clario are a rare breed. Most of the Valian administrators care little for the well-being of the Huana.
Oh?
If the Valians claim Poco Kahara, it is the locals who will truly suffer.
We'll see.
Deadfire is a tumultuous place. Consider the value of an ally with ships, cannons, and the backing of a great empire.
Gives me a soothing smile.
I do not have the precise location of Poco Kahara, but the tribe on the nearby island of Tikawara could probably help.
Tikawara.
I suggest starting there.
The village of Tikawara was recently founded by a small Huana tribe. Though the location has limited access to food, it is close to legendary Anguithan ruins known to the Huana as Poco Kahara. He circles a small out-of-the-way island on my map.
Now, what else can I do for you?